Hi guys, today we're going to talk about graphing quadratics, but we're going to do it a little bit differently. We did some basic solving and table making to help us with the very generic ones that we started with. But today, I just want to spend today talking about the 5 steps and how to identify some pieces that are important in this. So I'm going to try to fill out this graphic organizer a little differently today, but I'm going to start by filling in the center. So first of all, we're going to talk about graphing quadratics. Using steps. That's going to be different today. Today we're going to talk about basically 4 or 5 steps that can help us do that. I do want you to remember though that your general formula for a quadratic looks like that. So we are going to be able to use that identification and that information. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try today something a little different. I'm going to try to take this and actually spin it as I fill it out. We'll see if this works or not. And I'm going to go through and do really the 5 steps that we need. And we're going to do a little identification of some things in the back. And then today that's going to be it. The next couple days we'll do some graphing with it. So I'm going to start with the first one. So for step 1, we're going to use the general formula of y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. And we're going to spend time and actually identify A, B, and C. So really what we're going to do is we're going to find the numbers that are in each of these places to be able to find A, B, and C in our equation. Okay, that's the first step. Okay, we'll see if I can manage to turn this right. Okay, let's see if I can do this. Look at that. Okay, so for step 2, we're going to determine if it opens up or down. Now this is the way it works. If A is a positive number, then that means that it opens up and it has a minimum. So that basically means you have a graph that looks like this, and there would be your minimum. If A is negative, that means that it opens down and it has a maximum. So that means it's going to open like this and it'll have a maximum. So you should be able to determine just by looking at the A value what happens there. Okay, let's try to turn this again. Okay, now for step 3. We are going to find the values of A and B. Then we're going to solve it the axis of symmetry. So the axis of symmetry we sometimes call the line of symmetry, and it follows this formula. So here's what I always say. It's negative b on the top. That means whatever b is, this is going to be the opposite of that, over 2 times whatever a is. So finding the axis of symmetry is going to help us when we go to graph it. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so for step 4, we are going to find the vertex. Now the good news is when we found that axis of symmetry in step 3, whatever number we get for step 3 is going to be our x value. So we only have to find the y. So to find this y value, we're going to plug our x value in into my equation to find y. Okay, here's the deal. We've always said patterning was super important in quadratics. So when I go to step 5, so for step 5, we're going to make a table. And when we've talked about this before, we've always kind of had x, and then we made basically 5 spots in our table. The good news is once you find this vertex, the vertex is going to go right in the middle. So once I find that, I can use the points around it to help me make some patterning. So that will save us from making lots of extra points, okay? And then when step 5 is done, we're going to make the table, and we're going to graph. So those are just the 5 steps. Now, we obviously started here and kind of worked our way around. So I'm going to spend a few minutes and talk about step 1, and then the next video will go into all of the steps. Okay, so I'm just going to put this back where I got it and move to the next one. So now we're going to focus on this one. I'm being able to find and identify the A, B, and C value. So I'm going to give you a couple equations and we'll just try it with a couple just so you get the idea of how it works. Okay, so on this one, I'm going to just call this number 1. I have y equals, 5x squared plus 3x plus 7. Now remember, every time we do this, we are comparing it to the general equation that we have. And so I like to do that because to me, it makes it super easy then to identify the values. So I can see in this one, A is going to be 5, B is 3, and C is 7. Okay, so super easy to identify. Here's the other piece. If I know A is 5, that's a positive 5. It also means that it's going to open up, and it has a minimum. So that means I know it's got to be some kind of graph. Now that was just from identifying. That's all we did. So let's try just a couple more before we end. Okay, so I'm going to do, number 2 here. Y equals negative 4x squared plus 7x minus 3. And just to help me out, I'm going to put the general equation underneath it. So this is A, this is B, and this is C. So A is negative 4. B is 7. C. I can tell automatically that that negative right there, that minus 3 is going to become this negative 3. Now, if A is negative 4, that means that because it's negative, it opens down and it has a maximum. So if I were to graph it, it looks like this. Okay, we'll go through a few more tomorrow and start with the graphing.